Hello and welcome back to the channel. On today's tutorial, I'm going to be sharing with you how to sew this queen and neckline corset dress with gathers. So if you haven't yet seen the drafting tutorial, please go down to my YouTube channel, and if it's your first time viewing my channel, please hit on the subscribe button, and if you're a returning subscriber, thank you for supporting my channel. So let's dive right into today's video. So right here is my pattern, and I've gone ahead to cut it out. So I added 1/2 inch round at my pattern at this point that I'm pointing at, and at this part I added joining allowance 1/2 inch on top, 1/2 inch underneath it, and by the side I did not add 1/2 inch because we've added our sewing allowance. So here is my back pattern, and I've also added my 1/2 inch beneath it on top and also by the center for joining. So at the zipper part, do not add 1/2 inch in front because you've already added your zipper allowance, and also by the side you're not going to add. So at this point that I am marking, you're just going to go ahead to add your 1/2 inch to those points. So now this is the lower part. Just like I said, I cut out 2 pieces, so I'm going to go ahead to join it up. So after that, let's go ahead to start working on our pattern. So for the center piece, I cut it on fold. Opening it, this is what I have. So on the lining part, I went ahead to iron gum stay. So I used my main pattern to cut out the lining part of my dress, and I went ahead to iron gum stay on it. Now we are going to be joining our pattern with 1/2 inch. Whatever I'm doing to the main fabric, I'm also going to repeat it on the lining part. So you're going to place and stitch with 1/2 inch at this point. And after stitching with 1/2 inch for the lining, just like I said, you're also going to stitch it up with 1/2 inch, and remember to iron gum stay to your pattern. So this is the cup part and also the yoke or the sleeve of the dress. So now I'll go ahead and I'll unpin my pattern. So you're going to open it up this way, and you're going to place your lining on it, and you're going to stitch on this part. So the part going towards the armhole, you're going to leave it. So I'll repeat this for this part of my sleeve, and we're going to move over to the cup pattern. So now you're going to go ahead to open up your cup pattern. That is the center. This is the bra foam that I'm using. You can make use of a wadding or an already made cup. So if you're making use of a wadding, you're going to repeat the same process just like this. And if you're making use of an already made cup, you're going to stitch up your cup pattern and add your already made cup later. So this is the lining piece of this pattern, and I iron gum stay on it. This is to make it more stable. And now this is this side, that is the side going towards the armhole. You're going to open it up this way, and you're going to place, and you're also going to open up your bra foam, and you're going to go ahead to place. So there are 2 ways to go about this. It's either you top stitch on it, or you're just going to use your hemming gum to glue the bra foam before you go ahead and join your cup with 1/2 inch. So you can go ahead and use a pin to hold it down, and then you go ahead to stitch on it. And just like I said, remember, if you're using a bra foam, you're going to use your hemming gum to glue it, or you're just going to go ahead to top stitch. So go ahead and also join the lining piece of your cup. So now this is my pattern, and we've gone ahead to stitch this down with 1/2 inch, and this is what I have at this point. So now for my boning channel, I'll go ahead to stitch this down. So normally what we have on the thumbnail is the one that you're going to create the boning channel on top, but I have done a lot of videos with that, so I decided to create another method, or use another method of creating a boning channel. So for the center piece, I'm going to use a strip of my fabric to create a boning channel at the center of this dress. So now here is my cup, and I'm done turning. So what you want to do is to go ahead and trim out the excess you have at the center of the cup. So while you're trimming this, please do not trim your main fabric, just the bra foam or the wadding if you're working with wadding. And as you can see, I stitched my cup round, that is the bra foam. I stitched it to my fabric and I went ahead to join it. So this is what I have, and on top I'm just going to go ahead to trim out a little. So why I'm doing this is so that by the time I start joining my lining to my main cup, it's not going to be very bulgy on top. So this is what I have, and I'm going to repeat the same process at this side. And after I'm done doing that, we're going to move over to joining our cup. To join your cup, you're going to take the center of your cup and you have that part that you stitched on, that is the pattern that you joined at the center. You're going to go ahead to pin it. So it's easier to pin your cup before sewing. With that way, if the space you have is not really the same or doesn't accommodate your cup, you can go ahead to notch. So I'm going to go ahead to pin my cup. So after I'm done pinning on this side, this is what my cup is looking like, and we're going to move over to pinning the other side of the cup. Before you go ahead and pin your cup, you want to place it and make sure that the space you have is enough to accommodate the cup. So if not, just go ahead and notch the body of your cup and then go ahead to place it this way. So as you can see, what I have is matching, and I'm just going to go ahead to pin it down together. So with this way, when I'm joining my cup, it is going to be easier for me to stitch with 1/2 inch. So after pinning, this is what my cup looks like, and we're going to head over to the sewing machine and we're going to stitch our cup up with 1/2 inch. So after I'm done stitching the cup, this is what I have and this is what is looking like. So next we'll also repeat this process for the other side of the cup. So now this is my cup after I'm done joining, and we'll be attaching the yoke or the shoulder part. So remember that we marked 1 inch away from the joining from the cup. So you're going to take note of that and you're going to place your shoulder or the yoke part of your dress and you're going to pin. And make sure you pin with 1/2 inch, and after that I'm going to go ahead to stitch it down and repeat the same process for the other side of the shoulder. So after I'm done doing that, this is what I have. Please, sorry, my voice is a little cracky. So this is the lining part, and as you can see, I have joined it, and now we're going to use it to turn it over. So remember what I said, whatever you're doing to your main fabric, you also do to your lining. So now I'm going to place and I'm going to pin my pattern. So you want to make sure that the center is rhyming, and if you have any excess at this point, you're going to cut it out. So I'm going to go ahead to pin the upper part first because we're going to go ahead to stitch the upper part of this dress first before going over to stitch the other parts. So after I'm done pinning my pattern, I'll go over to the sewing machine and I'm going to stitch with 1/2 inch at the upper part. So after I'm done stitching the upper part, this is what I have, as you can see. So now we're going to go ahead to stitch all the allowance going towards the cup part. So before I go ahead and stitch, I'll also stitch up the remaining sides on top. So now I've gone ahead to stitch all the 1/2 inch allowance to the lining part. So it's either you stitch the allowance to the lining or you're just going to notch your corset so that it's going to relax. So this is what I have after I'm done stitching. Now we're going to go ahead to stitch up the sides of the dress. To stitch up the side, you're going to go ahead to pin down your pattern to make it more easier for you to work with. I'm also going to go ahead to pin this part, so any excess I have, I'm going to trim it out. After I'm done pinning the sides, I'm just going to go ahead to stitch my pattern or my dress with 1/2 inch at both sides. After stitching, this is what I have, and I've gone ahead to iron it out, so you can see how my corset is looking neat. So next step is to go ahead to work for the back pattern. For the back pattern, we went ahead to cut out the lower part into 2. So here is my lining, and it's not yet ironed, but I will still go ahead to iron it. So now let's work on the shoulder part or the yoke part of this. All you have to do is place your lining on it this way, and you're going to go ahead to stitch. So now on my pattern, the part that I'm going to be joining, I will go ahead to notch it because I have 2 pieces, so I don't want to go ahead and join it wrongly. So I'm just going to go ahead to unpin my pattern. So after that, I'm going to go ahead and place this, and I'm going to be stitching it up with 1/2 inch. So I'm going to be showing you how to stitch one side, and I'm going to go over to the sewing machine and stitch the other side. So I'll still notch this, indicating the part that I'm going to join. So I'm done joining the yoke part, and I'm done joining the lower part. Now it's time to place your sleeve. So remember that your sleeve or shoulder is going to start 1 inch immediately after your nipple to nipple point. And I'll go ahead and stitch my back pattern, and I'll also repeat it at the other side. So after I'm done stitching, this is what I have. I'll go ahead to notch it all the way around so that it will relax. And I also ironed out my lining while I was sewing, and also the material that I was working with. So this is what I have on this side, and the other part also is the same. So any excess that you have, go ahead to cut it out. Next step, you want to go ahead to join your back pattern to your front. So I'll be joining one side, and I'll go over to the machine and join the other. So you have to place this on this side and flip. So because this is a Queen Anne neckline corset, at the beginning I'm going to join with 0.75 and stitch with 1/2 inch all the way down, so that by the time you wear your dress, it won't be dropping from your shoulder. So after joining, this is what I have. So I went ahead to cut out my sleeves, and I will be attaching it to my dress. I'm going to take the sleeve, go ahead and notch the center of the sleeve at this point, and I'm going to place it this way, and I'll stitch with 1/2 inch starting from that joining of at the shoulder, and I'm going to go ahead to stitch to the end. So I had to join my sleeve at the center because my fabric was not really enough. So after that, I just went ahead to stitch all the way down, and after stitching at this part, I'm also going to stitch all the way down to the front, and also repeat the same process for the other side. So to cut a sleeve, I have a video on how to cut a basic sleeve, so you can go check it out up on my channel. So next, this is my dress after I'm done attaching the sleeve, and I went ahead to pin this out. I went ahead to pin the zipper part with 1 inch. That is my zipper allowance. Now we're going to go ahead to shape my dress. To shape the dress, I'm going to place my tape, and I'm going to mark my under bust, shoulder to under bust 12, and go ahead and mark my shoulder to bust, which is 9. So the lower part is my waistline, and 1/2 inch remaining is for stitching allowance. Now I'll place my tape at this point, and I'm going to measure from one end to the other. So what I have here is 18.5, and my bust circumference is 33 divided by 2. I have 16.5. So 18 minus 16, 18.5 minus 16.5, I have 2 inches, giving me 1 inch on both sides. Now I'm going to place my tape at this part, and I'm going to go ahead to measure. And my under bust is 14 inches. So and what I have there is 16.5. So 16.5 minus 14, I have 2.5. So I'm going to fold my tape and mark half at one side. And after marking what I have on this part, I'll place my tape, measure, and I'm going to go ahead to mark that 14 inches at my under bust. At the waistline, After measuring, what I have is 16 inches and I'll be marking 1 inch at both sides. Place my tape and I'll mark that 14 inches on this side and I'll connect it. So I'll go over to the sewing machine and I'll stitch. So for this part, you want to go ahead to measure your armhole circumference divided by 2. My armhole circumference is 16 divided by 2, I have 8, and I'll mark it at that point. So I added 1 inch allowance at this point, which I'm going to stitch to the end. So after I'm done stitching, this is what I have, and the next step is just to go ahead to pass your boning into your dress. So you can go ahead to tape up the mouth so that it's not going to poke you. But if you're not going to tape up the mouth, make sure you take out about half or 1 inch from it so that it will hang inside the boning channel. So with that way, it's not going to poke you when you're wearing the dress. Now I'm going to go ahead to pass my boning to the other side also. So for the back, you can go ahead and create boning channel and also add your boning, but this is a casual corset gown, so I'm not going to add too much boning channel or give it too much structure. So now this is the lower part of the dress. So if you watch the drafting tutorial, you're going to see when I cut this out. So what you're going to do now is to fold your dress and you're going to notch the center. You're also going to notch the center of this and you're going to go ahead and run a gather stitch on it all the way down. So after I'm done running a gather stitch on it, this is what I have. So I'm going to go ahead to attach it to the waistline with 1/2 inch. Remember, we added 1/2 inch at the top for joining allowance. So after I'm done stitching up with 1/2 inch, I'm going to go ahead to stitch the lower part down together and I will add zip to the dress. So after I'm done sewing, this is the final look of the dress. If you find this tutorial very interesting and educative, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and join us in our next video. Thanks.